Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a journey. We are headed to one of the most iconic yet I think most misunderstood destinations in the entire Caribbean.
hmm
We are talking about Jamaica.
We are the land of wood and water.
Yeah,
And it's an island that, it really exists in two different ways in our minds, doesn't it?
it really does.
On the one hand, you have that postcard image, pure paradise,
Hmm.
white sand, that crazy turquoise water, and of course, reggae music in the background. It's the ultimate easy, tropical luxury.
But then there's the other side, and that's the side that I think our learner audience is really wrestling with, is the question of what's actually beyond those resort walls.
Right.
You hear about safety concerns, you worry about tourist traps, and there's this fundamental question of how you find the real, authentic Jamaican culture when the whole tourism machine seems designed to keep you, well, happily locked inside.
That's it, exactly. And so we need to figure out if the effort it takes to break out of that bubble, the logistics, planning your transport, choosing the right place to stay, is it actually worth the investment for someone who wants a real, soul-stirring experience?
So that is our mission today. We're going to answer that core question. Is a trip to Jamaica, especially one that's focused on real cultural engagement, is it worth it?
And we're going to break it all down. Logistics, flights, the best time to go.
Yeah, the tricky business of getting around, the big debate over where to stay, the food,
Oh, the food.
and of course the most crucial cultural stops. From the busy coast of Montego Bay all the way up into the cool, misty blue mountains.
Our goal here is to give you that detailed, nuanced context you need to turn what could be just a simple vacation into a really informed, enriching journey.
We want you to be able to navigate the island, both financially and logistically, like you've been there a dozen times.
Let's start with mastering the movement.
All right, so let's get our feet on the ground. First things first, arriving. The goodies is Jamaica's really well connected. It's served by two main international hubs.
That's right. The vast majority of people, especially if you're aiming for that classic sun-drenched North or West Coast experience, you're going to be flying into Sangster International in Montego Bay. That's MBJ.
And MBJ is the big one because it's close to all the major tourist spots, right? Like Negril and Ocho Rios.
Exactly. The whole tourism infrastructure is kind of built up around it. It's the main gateway.
But MBJ isn't the only option. We've also got Norman Manley International in Kingston. Kinnan. When would a traveler choose to fly into Kingston instead?
Kinnan is your best bet if your goal is immediate immersion in the capital city. If you want the history, the music scene, that intensity right away.
Right.
It's also just way more efficient if you're planning to head straight to the South Coast to a place like Treasure Beach or even further east to Port Antonio. You can drive from Mo Bay to Kingston, but,
That's good.
well, it's a long haul. Flying into Kinnan saves you a ton of time.
Now let's talk timing. Because any savvy learner is always looking for that sweet spot. Great weather, but without the huge crowds and the crazy prices.
And for Jamaica, you absolutely have to focus on the shoulder seasons. The sources are really clear on this. There are two perfect windows: late April through June, and then again from November to mid-December.
What is it about those periods that makes them the sweet spot?
It's a few things. First, you completely sidestep the peak winter season, which is basically from Christmas right through Easter. That's when prices just skyrocket and the resorts are packed.
Right.
Second, you also manage to bypass the height of hurricane season, which is usually late summer into early fall. The weather during those shoulder seasons is usually fantastic. Lots of sun, a little less humidity than peak summer, and crucially, fewer people everywhere.
So you're not fighting for a spot at the Blue Hole or waiting in a huge line at the best jerk shack?
Precisely. You're trading a tiny bit of potential weather uncertainty for a massive gain in affordability, smaller crowds, and just a much better, more relaxed atmosphere. It's a trade I think most of our listeners would take in a heartbeat.
Okay, so once you've landed, this is where the real complexity kicks in. I think every single source we looked at agreed on one thing. The biggest challenge in Jamaica is ground transportation.
Without a doubt.
And this is where we need to issue our strongest possible warning. If you are even thinking about renting a car and driving yourself, our sources say just don't do it. The stress of driving there consistently outweighs any benefit of freedom you think you're getting.
We really need to break down what that means, because just saying they drive on the left doesn't even begin to cover it.
No.
The sources describe the driving style as organized chaos.
Yeah.
And the organization is very much on local terms. The roads are often way too narrow for the amount of traffic on them.
And the potholes.
Oh, the potholes are everywhere. They are persistent, they are unavoidable, and they can do serious damage to a rental car. The last thing you want is to be stuck on the side of the road with a flat tire.
And it's not just the roads themselves, it's the local driving style. It's very assertive. You have to be constantly on the defensive, with the quick merging, the sudden stops.
And the horn is basically another language. It's the primary way people communicate on the road. So trying to navigate, avoid obstacles, and understand that horn language all at once, it's going to completely ruin your vacation vibe.
You're not enjoying the scenery. You're just white-knuckling the steering wheel.
Right. That level of stress is constant. It stops you from just relaxing and sinking into the island rhythm.
So if self-driving is out, we need to lay out the worth-it options, the solutions that actually prioritize safety, relaxation, and even add to the experience.
Okay, so the best option for most travelers who want to explore beyond their hotel is to hire private, licensed drivers or taxis. You should almost think of this as a non-negotiable expense if you want to see the real Jamaica.
What are the big benefits that make that cost worthwhile?
Well, safety is number one, obviously. You've got a professional who knows the roads, knows the customs, knows the flow of that chaos. Second is price certainty. You pre-negotiate your fares so there are no surprises. But here's the real value add.
They become guides, right?
There's so much more than just transit. They are your cultural interpreters. A good licensed driver, maybe from a reputable company like JUTA Tours or someone you find recommended on travel forums, they become your guide.
I remember reading an anecdote about a driver pointing out the best roadside fruit stands and telling the history of the towns they passed through.
Exactly. Think of it like this. You're buying an instant cultural translator. They'll teach you a bit of patois, explain the history of a place, and they'll know exactly which little cook shop has the freshest patties that day. You're turning a logistical chore into a cultural deep dive.
Okay, let's talk numbers, because our audience wants to know what this actually costs. How does a private driver for a day compare to, say, a standard resort excursion?
It varies, of course, depending on distance. But for a full day of touring, let's say 8 hours or so, you might pay somewhere between $80 and $150 plus a tip.
For the whole car, not to a person.
Right, for the car. Now, compare that to a big bus tour from a resort to just one spot. That can easily cost $75 to $100 per person and gives you zero flexibility. The private driver gives you control, context, and for a couple or a small group, it's often way better value.
That's a huge difference. You get a customized itinerary for a similar or even better price.
Exactly. Now, what if you're doing a really long trip? Like, say you want to go all the way from Montego Bay down to Kingston. A private driver for that distance might be a bit pricey. In that case, there is a fantastic, affordable alternative.
Okay.
It's called the Knutsford Express.
Oh, what is that? A train.
It's basically Jamaica's premier coach bus line. It's super reliable, it's punctual, and it's comfortable. We're talking air conditioning, reserved seats, plenty of room for luggage. It's a very safe and efficient way to move between the big cities, Mobay, Ocho Rios, Kingston.
So it's perfect for those long-haul city-city transfers.
Well,
What's the catch?
the catch is that it's only for city-to-city transit. It's not going to take you to a hidden waterfall or a specific roadside jerk stand, but for crossing the island on a budget, it's unbeatable. It frees up your money for those private drivers when you really need them for local exploring.
Okay, we've mastered the movement. Now we have to figure out where to stay. And this really feels like the central question for any traveler going to Jamaica, right? It's the all-inclusive fortress versus the search for the island's soul.
It's the defining choice you make. And let's be fair, let's start with the all-inclusive model because its appeal is powerful. You find them clustered in Montego Bay and Negril, basically serving the main tourism engine.
And the selling point is just undeniable. It's ease. Total simplicity. One price gets you your room, all your food, all your drinks, activities. It's designed from the ground up to be a worry-free escape.
And they've gotten really good at segmenting the market. You have these huge mega resorts that are perfect for families who need endless entertainment options. And then you have the super luxe, couples-only places like Sandals that are all about pure indulgence.
If your only goal is to hit the reset button and not think for a week, it's hard to beat.
It is, but, and this is the big, but our sources kept raising,
Yeah.
if you stay inside that fortress, you risk being in what one source called a beautiful but generic bubble.
So as a learner, as someone who wants that depth and context, what are you actually missing out on inside that bubble?
You lose out on two critical fronts.
Yeah.
First, the food. The culinary experience is, well, it's sanitized. It's designed for a global palate, not for the fiery foundational flavors of real Jamaican cooking. We'll get more into that later. And second, and this is huge, you become economically insulated. Your money goes to a big international corporation, and it completely bypasses the local economy. The independent guest house owner, the guy running the local cook shop, the fisherman bringing in the catch of the day, they see none of it.
So that's a missed opportunity for both cultural connection and direct economic impact. So if we want to find that island soul, where should we be looking, geographically speaking?
You have to push past those main tourist corridors. The sources really highlight places like Treasure Beach on the south coast. It's a quiet, low-key community of fishing villages, just a completely different vibe. No sprawling resorts in sight.
And what about on the other side of the island?
You look toward Port Antonio on the East Coast. Port Antonio is rugged, it's incredibly lush, and it has this old-school glamour to it. It was actually the original tourist hotspot, made famous by Errol Flynn. It's much less developed today, and it really appeals to travelers who value nature over nightclubs.
And in those places, what kind of accommodation should you be looking for to really get that immersion?
Boutique hotels are a good start. But the real magic is in the guest houses and private villas. When you stay in one of those, you are immediately embedded in a community.
You're not just an observer anymore.
Exactly. You're staying next door to local families. Your morning coffee comes from a local vendor, not a machine in a lobby. You're hearing real music from a neighbor's yard, not a resort DJ playing a Bob Marley greatest hits loop. You become a participant in the rhythm of daily life.
Okay, so this sets up a really tough choice. You have the guaranteed relaxation of the all-inclusive versus the richer cultural payoff of a local stay. For a first-timer, the sources recommend a hybrid approach. But let me push back on that for a second.
Okay.
Isn't moving hotels mid-trip just a huge pain? You're basically turning one relaxing vacation into 2 stressful check-ins, 2 packing sessions, 2 big logistical moves. Is the cultural gain really worth that hassle?
That is a very, very valid point. And the answer is yes. It's worth it if you plan the shift smartly. The key is to use a pre-booked, licensed driver for that transition day. That one move minimizes the disruption and maximizes the reward.
So what does that look like in practice?
It looks like this. You start your trip with, say, 3 days at a nice, comfortable hotel in Negril, maybe even a smaller all-inclusive. You use that time to decompress, get over your jet lag, enjoy that famous 7-mile beach. No pressure.
You get the relaxation part out of the way first.
Exactly. Then, once you're relaxed and on island time, you execute the move. You have that driver pick you up, and you transition to your second, more immersive location. Maybe it's a guest house in Treasure Beach or a little cottage up in the Blue Mountains.
I see. So you get both experiences.
You get the best of both worlds. You get the pure escape you need, but then you also get that deep, soul-stirring cultural immersion the island offers. And you do it without the stress of trying to find every single meal from a local spot while you're still half asleep from the flight.
And I bet the numbers work out on that too. A few nights at a super luxe all-inclusive can be incredibly expensive.
Absolutely. 3 nights there might run you, what, $500, $600, $700 a night? But a charming, locally owned guest house could be $80 to $150 a night. The money you save on the second half of the trip can easily pay for the private driver you need to make the switch. It's smarter financially and culturally.
Okay, let's switch gears from logistics to flavor. Because if there is one piece of advice you take away from this deep dive, let it be this. If you go to Jamaica and only eat at the resort buffet, you have committed a serious culinary crime.
A huge one. Jamaica is a culinary superpower. And we have to start at the heart of it all. Proper jerk.
And the key thing to understand is that jerk isn't just a sauce you pour out of a bottle, is it?
Not at all. It's a cooking method. It's a piece of history, really. It's a method that was developed by the Maroons, the descendants of enslaved Africans who escaped into the mountains and formed their own free communities.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they developed this method of slow smoking meat, often in underground pits, specifically to keep the smoke hidden from the colonial forces who were hunting them. It was a cooking method born of survival and resistance.
So let's define the flavor. What makes it so unique?
The foundation is, of course, the heat. That comes from fiery Scotch bonnet peppers. You can't be shy with the heat, but the absolute soul of jerk is pimento.
Which we know is allspice.
Right, allspice. But here's the crucial part. The pimento isn't just in the marinade or the dry rub. The meat is slow smoked over pimento wood.
That's the secret ingredient.
That is the secret. That wood releases this aromatic, flavorful oil into the smoke, and it infuses the meat with a taste that you just held. You cannot replicate it with any other wood. The result is smoky, spicy, unbelievably tender. It's life-changing.
So where do you find the real deal? You're not getting this at a resort.
No, you have to seek out the real jerk huts. These are often just simple roadside stands. Sometimes you can spot them by the smoke coming out of old oil drums they've turned into smokers.
Any specific names to look out for?
The sources often mention Scotchies, which is near Ocho Rios. It's gotten more popular, but it's still very authentic. And then there's the legendary Boston Bay Jerk Center near Port Antonio, which many people say is the actual birthplace of modern jerk.
And what's the perfect way to eat it? What's the pairing?
The pairing is non-negotiable. You have to get a side of festival. It's this sweet, slightly dense fried dumpling. It's the perfect thing to cool down the Scotch bonnet heat. That and an ice-cold red stripe beer. That combination is pure perfection.
Jerk sets a high bar, but the island's culinary scene is so much deeper. Let's talk about breakfast. Ackee and saltfish. This sounds, well, it sounds a little strange to a lot of people.
It does sound intimidating, but it's incredible. So ackee is a fruit, but the key thing is that it has to be prepared properly. When it's cooked, the fleshy part of the fruit completely transforms.
What does it taste like? What's the texture?
The texture is the most surprising thing. It looks and feels almost exactly like scrambled eggs. It's soft, a little creamy, and yellow. Then they saute it with salted cod, the saltfish and onions, peppers, tomatoes. The flavor is savory, a little salty, surprisingly rich. It's this hearty, delicious way to start your day, and it is the national dish. You have to try it.
From a sit-down breakfast to the ultimate grab-and-go lunch, the Jamaican patty. This is an institution, isn't it?
It is the perfect street food. It's this flaky, golden pastry shell. The color comes from turmeric, and it's filled with seasoned ground beef or chicken or vegetables. It is the best, cheap, satisfying lunch on the island.
Are there famous brands?
Yeah.
Like a local rivalry?
Oh, there's a huge rivalry. It's the great debate. Juji Patty versus Tasty Patty. They're the two big chains.
The Coke and Pepsi of patty.
Exactly. Everyone has their favorite. But honestly, both are fantastic. If you see one, you stop. It's a rule. You can get an amazing meal for just a couple of dollars.
All right, let's get a little more adventurous. Beyond the big names, what are some of the other dishes we should be looking for at a good local cook shop?
You have to try the stews and curries. Curry goat is a classic. It's incredibly flavorful. The meat is so tender, it just falls off the bone. Brown stew chicken is another staple you'll see everywhere. But for me, if you like seafood, the absolute must-try is escovitch fish.
Escovitch fish. Break that down for us. It sounds amazing.
It is a sensory explosion. They start with a whole fish, usually a snapper, and they fry it perfectly so the skin is super crispy.
Okay.
But the magic is the sauce, or the pickle, they call it. They smother the hot, crispy fish in this tangy, colorful mix of pickled vegetables, onions, carrots, bell peppers, all steeped in this spicy vinegar base with pimento and whole Scotch bonnet peppers.
So you get the heat, the tang from the vinegar, the crispy fish.
All at once. It's hot, sour, salty, and savory. It's just a masterclass in balancing flavors.
This is all making me incredibly hungry. We've covered so many amazing options. So what is the one single golden rule for eating in Jamaica?
The rule is simple, and it will never fail you. Eat where the locals eat. That's it. If your driver is taking you somewhere and you pass a little wooden shack with a hand-painted sign, there's a line of Jamaicans out the door waiting for lunch, you tell the driver to stop the car, you get in that line, you are guaranteed to have one of the best meals of your life. It's an instant sign of quality and authenticity.
Okay, let's move from the plate to the landscape. Our sources highlighted so many incredible activities. Let's start with the waterfalls and swimming holes. And let's go from the blockbuster to the hidden gem.
The blockbuster, the one everyone knows, is Dunn's River Falls near Ocho Rios. And it is magnificent. It's this series of huge, cascading limestone waterfalls that flows right down into the Caribbean Sea.
It's the image you see on every travel brochure, but with that fame comes crowds.
Massive crowds. The main experience is climbing the falls, and you often do it by holding hands with a line of strangers forming a human chain to get up the rocks. It's fun, it's beautiful, but it can feel a little managed, a little artificial.
So how does a smart traveler do it? Is there a way to avoid the worst of it?
Strategy is everything. You have to go early, be there right when the park opens, before 9 a.m. And, the most important tip, check the local cruise ship schedule. Go on a day when there are no ships in port. The crowd levels will be dramatically lower.
Okay, so that's the blockbuster. Now, What if you want that same kind of vibe? Cliff jumping, swimming in bright blue water, but a more authentic, less crowded experience.
Then you go to the Blue Hole.
Yeah.
It's also near Ocho Rios, but it's the authentic alternative. It's a series of natural limestone swimming pools connected by small waterfalls, and the water is this unbelievable, vivid turquoise color.
Why is it so blue?
It's from the minerals in the limestone rock, and the experience is just much less commercial. It feels more like an adventure playground. You climb on the rocks, you can jump from small cliffs, swing on a rope into the pools. It feels like you've discovered a secret spot.
So a much higher reward-to-crowd ratio.
Much higher. It's fantastic.
Now, if jumping off cliffs isn't quite your speed, Jamaica also offers the complete opposite. Pure tranquility. Let's talk about bamboo rafting.
Yes. And we need to be clear, this is not whitewater rafting. This is the definition of slow travel. It's a meditative journey.
What's the setup?
You're on a long 30-foot raft made entirely of bamboo. A local captain stands at the front and pulls you gently down a calm, beautiful river. The whole point is just to relax, be silent, and take in the lush tropical scenery all around you.
Our sources mentioned two main rivers for this.
Yeah.
The Martha Brae and the Rio Grande. What's the difference?
The Martha Brae is the more famous one, so it gets more tourists. It's very well organized. But the sources consistently suggest that the Rio Grande over in Port Antonio offers a superior experience.
Why is that?
It's longer, the float can last up to 2 hours, and the scenery is just more dramatic and wild. It feels more remote and pristine.
Yeah.
Plus, it has that Errol Flynn history, which is kind of cool. It's less of a quick tourist attraction and more of a deep, peaceful immersion in nature.
And I imagine the captain of the raft is another one of those amazing local guides.
Oh, absolutely. They're full of stories about the river. They'll point out the wildlife. It's another one of those moments where a simple activity becomes a real cultural connection.
Okay, we have to talk about the cultural heart of the island now.
Yeah.
You can't really understand Jamaica's global impact without talking about reggae music, and for that, you have to go to Kingston.
You do. Kingston is the heartbeat. It's vibrant. It can be intense, and travelers need to be smart about it. It's definitely a place where having a local guide is a good idea, but it is essential. You have to visit the center of it all.
So, for understanding the legacy of Bob Marley, where do you start?
The main stop is the Bob Marley Museum, which is at his former home at 56 Hope Road. It gives you this really intimate look at his life. You see his recording studio, his bedroom. It's powerful because you're standing in the actual space where he lived and created all that music.
But our sources suggested that for an even deeper, more powerful understanding of where that music came from, you need to go to the Trenchtown Culture Yard.
Yes. The Culture Yard offers a different kind of connection. It's more profound in a way. This is the government housing project where Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, and Bunny Wailer grew up. It's where they struggled, where they wrote their first songs, where the Wailers were formed.
So it's not a polished museum.
Not at all. It's a living monument to the community, to the poverty, and the struggle that forged reggae music as a sound of protest and hope. Visiting Trenchtown connects the music not just to the man, but to the social environment that created a global phenomenon. It gives you that critical context.
And then for a complete change of scenery, we go from the city's intensity to the calm majesty of the Blue Mountains.
A total shift. The Blue Mountains are cool, misty, and incredibly green. It's a high-altitude escape from the coastal heat, and the main draws there are really coffee and hiking.
Let's talk about the coffee, because Blue Mountain coffee is famous around the world. What makes it so special?
It's all about the specific geography. To be certified as genuine Blue Mountain coffee, it has to be grown in a very specific high-altitude region of the mountains.
Okay.
That high altitude and the cool, misty climate make the coffee cherries ripen much more slowly. And that slow maturation process creates a coffee bean that is denser, less acidic, and has this incredibly smooth, balanced flavor that people go crazy for.
So taking a plantation tour lets you see that whole process firsthand.
Exactly. You see how it's grown, you understand the painstaking work involved, and you get to taste the real thing at the source. It's a great educational activity.
And for the more active traveler.
The ultimate goal is the pre-dawn hike to Blue Mountain Peak. You hike up in the dark to get to the summit just as the sun rises. On a clear day, the view is it's breathtaking. You're looking out over the entire island, often above a sea of clouds. It really shows you the incredible diversity of Jamaica's landscape.
Okay, we've covered a lot of essential things to do. Now, to make a trip even more efficient, let's talk about what our sources say you might want to skip. It's time to identify the tourist traps.
Yes, avoiding those high-pressure situations is so key to enjoying your trip. And the first big area to be cautious of is some of the main crash markets, especially the ones right by the cruise ship ports or in the big resort towns.
We've all been there. The second you walk in, you're just swarmed. The aggressive sales tactics, the pressure to just look, it can be really exhausting.
It really can. And we should probably define what we mean by the hustle. It's that constant, aggressive solicitation. For souvenirs, for an unsolicited tour, for a specific taxi, it's important to understand it comes from a place of real economic need, but it can definitely detract from a relaxing day.
So if you want to buy authentic crafts and support local artisans, what's the better way to do it?
You seek out the smaller independent shops, or even better, you buy directly from the craftsman you meet on your travels, the woodcarver you see working by the side of the road, or a small art gallery in Port Antonio. The transaction is more relaxed, it's a real conversation, and you know your money is going directly to the artist.
Okay, now for the big one, the controversial Skip, a place that is incredibly famous, especially for anyone going to Negril.
Rick's Cafe.
Rick's Cafe. It's world famous for the cliff diving and the sunsets. So why do our sources say it might be overhyped?
It's really a victim of its own success. The location is undeniably stunning, but it suffers from severe, chronic overcrowding, especially around sunset. It's just packed.
And expensive.
Drastically overpriced. The food, the drinks, you're paying a huge premium for the name. The experience often just doesn't justify the cost and the hassle of the crowds.
So if your goal is just to see a spectacular Negril cliffside sunset, maybe watch some divers, what's the alternative?
You just have to explore the other spots along that same road, the West End Road. Our sources specifically recommend places like the Rock House Hotel. It has the same incredible sunset view, but in a much more chilled out, refined atmosphere.
And I bet there are smaller local spots too.
Yeah. Dozens of them. Little local bars all along the cliffs where you can get a cold red stripe for a couple of bucks, watch the sun go down, and see local guys doing incredible dives, all without the massive, overwhelming crowd. The takeaway is, seek the experience, not just the famous brand name.
Okay, we have navigated the logistics, the luxury, the deep cultural history, the intensity of the hustle, and the absolute fire of the jerk pit. So when you put it all together, what is the real overarching vibe of Jamaica?
It is, I think, complexity and intense beauty. There is this undeniable friction. The contrast between the perfect manicured resorts and the vibrant, sometimes difficult reality of daily life for most Jamaicans. The island kind of forces you to see and feel that tension.
And that's what makes it so powerful, but it also means you have to manage it. You talked about the hustle versus the heart.
Right.
How does a traveler deal with that?
You just have to be prepared for it. When you encounter the hustle, you recognize it for what it is, a symptom of economic pressure. You learn to be patient, to be firm but polite. And if you can do that, if you can push past that initial friction, what you find on the other side is the heart, the warmth, the humor, the incredible spirit of the Jamaican people. That's what really defines the island.
It sounds like it's not a passive destination.
Not at all. Its landscape is powerful, its flavors are intense, its music is revolutionary, it challenges you to engage. You can't just sit back and watch it go by from behind a gate. You have to get out, talk to people, eat the roadside food, listen to the rhythm. And when you do that, the reward is a depth of experience you just won't find anywhere else.
All right, this is the moment of truth. After this entire deep dive, breaking down the costs, the culture, the food, what is the final verdict? For our curious learner, is going beyond the all-inclusive bubble in Jamaica really worth the effort?
Yes, 100%. Yes, it is absolutely immensely worth it. But there is a critical condition attached to that verdict.
Right.
Jamaica is worth it on the condition that you, the traveler, make a conscious, genuine effort to see the real Jamaica.
It requires action. You can't just hope it will happen.
No, you have to take decisive steps. Stay at the all-inclusive for a few days to relax if you need to. That's fine. But then you must hire that driver for at least one full day to explore. You must eat at a local jerk shack, preferably one with a rusty sign. You have to engage with people who aren't paid to serve you. That active engagement is the price of admission for the authentic experience.
So if you're just looking for a sterile, predictable vacation,
then honestly, our sources would suggest you look elsewhere. But if you want a trip that is full of soul, overflowing with flavor, packed with intense natural beauty, and steeped in a culture that has literally changed the world, then Jamaica isn't just worth it. It is absolutely essential.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the heart and the complexity of the land of wood and water. We've given you the logistical blueprint, we've encouraged that hybrid stay for the best of both worlds, and we've really tried to emphasize the power of engaging with local food and culture.
And in the show notes, we've put together links and references from our sources guides to finding good drivers, some specific jerk shack recommendations, information on the Trenchtown Culture Yard, everything you need to start planning your own trip. And we'd love to hear about your own experiences too.
Because the true reward of Jamaica really does come from seeking out that powerful cultural friction, that tension between the tourist facade and the vibrant, resilient reality that exists just outside the resort walls.
And that brings us to our final provocative thought for you to think about. Of all the parts of Jamaica's massive global influence, the revolutionary music of reggae, the fiery tradition of jerk cooking, the deep resilience in its history, what part of that culture are you most excited to finally connect with directly and authentically?
Until next time, travel safe and travel deeply.
And travel well.